Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we shall be looking at part 2 of a series that I started a few weeks back. We shall be looking at eye shapes. Eye shapes comes in different sizes and in different animal hair. We all have different types of skins and different needs when we are purchasing Fude. So I hope that my video shall be interesting and hopefully you can learn something. Let us start off by looking at some blender brushes. Blender brushes comes in various sizes and different types of animal hair. We have here a more pointed and rather bullet shape blender, whereas these blenders here are less compact, less dense, and airier. This Kolinsky blender is particularly useful for picking up cream and liquid products, and I found this particular brush to be quite polyvalent because I have been able to use it with concealer as well as shimmer shades or even sparkly products. For example, the Lisa Eldridge eye palette goes very well, pairs very well with this particular Kolinsky eye brush. We have here some Fude Shapes, also blenders made from Canadian Squirrel by the OEM Hakuhodo. Very airy, extremely silky, soft and delicate on the finger. Particularly interesting for those who have sensitive lids. Also an angle brush, but this blender is made from pony hair, so some people might find it a bit more scratchy. Our tolerance to sensitivity will vary from person to person. Some people may find, for example, this gray squirrel angle brush, doe foot, as commonly known, may be not soft enough compared to the Hakuhodo Canadian squirrel. As I've mentioned in my previous videos, Fude is very personal and subjective and varies from person to person. We have here a more classical shape of a blender brush. Also extremely airy and not dense. We have on this end crease brushes, sharper, more diamond shape for more precise work, for example, in the inner corners. We can see the difference between these two brushes here. For example, this one has a more tapered and sharper tip, like a diamond, compared to this one, which is slightly more rounded, both made out of Kolinsky hair. We also have a blender made from Kolinsky hair, but with longer hairs compared to the predecessor. less dense. We have a hakuhodo here, which is, at first glance, one might think they are similar. They are certainly siblings, but when we analyze closer, we can see this has more of this pointy diamond sharp shape compared to this one that has a softer edge. And of course, it comes in different animal hairs. This one here is squirrel compared to the Kolinsky. The density of the hair will of course depend on the type of hair and shape as well. For example, we have here a rather dense blender. It's made out of squirrel hair. Normally, squirrel hair would be not so dense, but because of the shape and the way that it has been bundled and designed, we can see that it's denser than this particular shape, for example, this doe foot. The hair on the doe foot is also longer, so the length, the type of hair, and the shape of the brush would play on the impact of the density. And the density would mean that the color pickup of the product would be impacted. We have here the yoshiki from Koyudo, and we can see how snappy this hair is. It's a dense little brush. Some people like it for eyebrow, as those with sensitive skin might find it too pokey for the lid. We also have these lovely sharp candle shapes from Surat. And the interesting thing with Fude, there is no right or wrong or particularly strict rule of how you should be using a brush. I know that some people uses this one for under eye. I have been able to use it for one and done shadows. It depends from person to person. And we have here in the middle that I have saved for last. These are actually much finer and precise shapes for detail work. But I have also found this particular eyeliner fine tip, because it's so sharp, for pinpoint concealing. This is a perfect shape. And for outer V or inner corner, this Pseudo is perfect, as well as these Rubloffs here. And we can obviously see that between these two brushes, in spite of being so close in shape, in even the Pseudo here, the Kolinsky is obviously denser than the squirrel hair, for example. Let us move on to some paddle-like shapes. And let's start off with the Koyudo Kolinsky brush. We have here a flat paddle, which is long in bristles. With Kolinsky hair, it is easy to pick up any liquid products or cream products, and as mentioned previously, it performs particularly well with shimmer and sparkly products. Compared to the Chikuhodo KZ Kazan series, we can see that this particular paddle-like shape is thicker and chunkier compared to the Koyudo, and turned sideways, we can see how much more thicker they appear. the Fude shape is very special in the sense that if you are in a rush in the morning, one and done shadows, it's excellent. Kazan Squirrel is well known for its ability to pick up products and diffuse it quite well, and you will not get patchy products overlaying on top of each other. So compared to the Fude, we have here a Takada paddle shape brush, which is shorter in length and less thick, almost as thick but not quite there. It can also be used as a smudge brush. And then we have the thinner paddle type, and if compared again to the Fude, we can see how thin they are compared. In spite of the similar shape, the Fude remains to be wider, thicker, and the hair is longer. We then move on to paddle shape, which is very pointy, like a diamond shape. And again, if we compare it to the Fude, we can see that this brush made by the OEM Valerie D, we can see how thick it is, but not quite there compared to the Fude. Let us move on to some angle shapes. This particular angle Kolinsky brush is very interesting because it can be used for eyes, even foundation. Some people have, some of my friends in fact have been able to make a complete face look with this particular brush. And we can see here that it fluffs out in a particular, the ferrule is pinched. So the brush, in spite of being pinched, because of the shape, it does flare out particularly an interesting shape. We have a smaller angle compared to this large Kolinsky brush. This particular angle brush is made from a dark sable, and we can see the similarity in the pinching of the ferrule, but the size differs. Some more angle brushes, and these can be used for eyebrows, for the outer V, for flicking out, for a nice wing liner, also made from the OEM Valerie D. And we have here some very interesting Leonard brushes, and these brushes are actually very straight at the bottom. I don't find them so often on the market, not from big brands anyhow, but it is very interesting in the sense that the ferrule is pinched. It's very flat. It reminds me of artist brushes, in fact, but it is makeup brushes made by the OEM, the French OEM Léonard. We have here a similar shape to the Léonard made from Hakuhodo, but this is actually a lip brush. But this lip brush can in fact be used as an eye brush. So very polyvalent, very interesting. And this one here from Kyoto, this tapered diamond that I had shown earlier, it can also be used as a detail eye brush. So eye brushes can be used interchangeably and very polyvalent. We have here finally some smudger brushes, and we have longer, thinner. This one here is so tiny and minuscule that it is a perfect smudger for getting close to the inner lining, the waterline, and we can see how short in length it is compared to the other two. Finally, let's have a look at eyebrow brushes. We have this chunky one from Kyoto, the Yoshiki series, made out of badger. Very, very thick and snappy. I have only been able to use it as an eyebrow brush, unfortunately. And we have a similar smaller version made from Shokuda. Very interesting shape. It's small enough to get in between the different hairs in the brows. Also a brow brush made from horsehair. And we have these two spoolies from Bisyodo in different lengths. Very interesting. This small one is the only one I have in my collection. Let us test some similar shapes so we can see some intensity payoff. We have here, this is the Chikuhodo Kazan Squirrel, flat paddle shape, and this one is the Kyoto flat paddle shape. Not exactly the same size, but similar paddle shapes and different hair. So let's start off with the Kyoto Tom Ford Daydream palette. Intensity payoff with the Kolinsky. One swipe. Let's try a second swipe. Layering on top. The product is well diffused. Obviously in real life we don't apply eyeshadows like this, but for the sake of the video, why not? And we can see how good the color payoff and how well it diffused. Lovely little paddle brush. And let us try with a more sparkly shade. Going in the Tom Ford. One swipe. Going in again. Obviously the shade is very light. And a third swipe. We can see how well it built up. Let's try and build it on top of the previous matte shade. and a third time. Let us try with the chikuhodo. The chikuhodo kazan is squirrel hair and is to be expected. Color payoff is much less. So one swipe, let's go in the second swipe, which is much lighter, and going with the same shimmer shade. And a second coat. Kolinsky hair here and Kazan squirrel hair here. We can see the difference, which is quite prominent. Let's try with some doe foot blenders. We have here the Canadian squirrel. This is gray squirrel, and we have here doe foot pony hair. Let's start off with the pony hair, and this time let's try with the matte purple shade from Tom Ford. One swipe, second swipe, and we have a third swipe. Let's go in with the squirrel, the gray squirrel. We have here one swipe, which is hardly even noticeable. Second swipe. I'm using the exact same pressure. And a third swipe. We can see the difference that the pony hair picked up more product than the gray squirrel. And finally, the Canadian squirrel, one swipe. Non-existent, the color, we cannot see the color. Second swipe. Oh, I'm sorry, it's this one here. Second swipe, let's do it again. Second swipe. It's so inexistent that I'm not even sure it is with the second swipe. And let's go in with a third and final swipe. We can see here pony hair, gray squirrel, and Canadian squirrel. All doe foot shapes, but because of the hair type, we can obviously see there's a very big difference in color payoff. Pony, gray squirrel, and Canadian squirrel. And that is a wrap for today, my foodie friends. Thank you so much for tuning in, for joining me in this fun video. I look forward to hearing from you. And do you have any particular favorite eye shape, any favorite hair type, depending on the eye shape? Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to another new video with you. Thank you so much.